Okay, here we go. Brand new episode of Two Non-Critics. I had two lifelong friends and film buffs with very different movie tastes coming together to talk about movies. I am non-critic Dustin, and from 6 hours in the past, which is what I love to say, because you live in Hawaii.
Non-critic Will, how you doing, everybody?
And today we're actually continuing a discussion that we sort of started with our last show, where we talked about the current incarnation of Tmnt. Now we're bringing it back. We're going to talk about all four theatrical movies that currently exist before the new Bay Turtles comes out. But so this is a little different for us. We're going to break the format of the show a little bit, try to talk about four movies in less time than it usually takes to talk about one. So the first movie, 1990. 3 years after the cartoon premiered and destroyed America with awesomeness, was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theatrical film. Very, very successful movie. Very low budget, I believe. It was a pretty low budget movie, but broke. I believe it broke an indie record. Like it made very, very successful movie, and it's been a part of my movie experience since I was 5 years old, and I'm sure it was for Will too. What do you have to say about the original Turtle film?
The original Turtles film is still one of my all-time favorite movies. Still all-time. Number one, I'm originally from New York City, so I love everything that's dealing with New York City, and the Turtles, like going from the cartoon to the big screen. Very, very nice. The depiction that they had of the Turtles, for me, was spot on. Really good. The action back in the day, the action was amazing. The way the Turtles look, the way Splinter looks, how they showed Shredder and the Foot Clan. Really good movie. I enjoy it to this day, and there's something that is very nostalgic. So you grow up seeing this movie over and over and over again. So every part, like down to a science. Like you can quote every part as it's playing. So yeah, the first Turtles, great movie. Great movie.
Yeah, it completely is, and I do hear people trash talking about the original Turtles movie, saying that it doesn't hold up very well. I think those people are nuts because I think it holds up very, very well. It is. I think it's definitely the best Turtles movie so far, and I think it's because it handles the material perfectly. It takes it seriously without taking it too seriously. It still has fun with the material. It still says, look, this is called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's goofy. It's going to be goofy. And when it needs to be goofy, it's perfectly goofy. And when it needs to be serious, it's just serious enough to make you care about it. Like, I mean, the moment when they show up at April's door, when Splinter was taken, and they're so depressed, and they're like, they took Splinter. That's kind of heart-wrenching, You get to see these guys all, being badass and joking around and being goofy, but also awesome at the same time. And then you just see a real moment of loss. They don't know what to do with themselves. And I think that is a very powerful scene in the movie itself. Is pretty powerful because of it. Do you think the movie still holds up today? Well, you said it's still one of your favorite movies.
I definitely think it still holds up to that. And another powerful scene was the moment Raph, he got beat up by the Foot Clan. They jumped him, and when you just see the scene where he's just unconscious in the tub, and they're just trying to do everything they can to revive him, to heal him, to bring him back, and Leo was the most concerned because right before then, Leo and Raph had a big argument. And it's something like that with people in general. Like when someone you care about. And if you get upset, you get into a little attitude or argument, you say some things that you don't really mean, and you think that you have all the time in the world to, ask for forgiveness or forgive them, but you never know what could happen to that person 5 minutes later, which is actually what happened with Raph. And I want to say just another powerful, touching scene was when Raph woke up and they went out to the woods at night, and made a fire, and they all meditated to try to hear Splinter's voice. And when they tapped into that aura, you can say that energy, Splinter was just saying you have learned the final art of the ninja, that you use the mind, not the body. And, the last thing that Splinter says after he's, preaching to them, the last thing he says is, "I love you all, my sons." Once the flames go down, they're all happy and stuff. And then you see Mikey crying. He's just crying his eyes out. I mean, because he was just so sad. He was sad but happy that he was able to send Splinter and stuff because that's his father. So that was a very touching moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up Michelangelo because I was just looking it up on here because I always forget his name. But Robbie Rist, who played Cousin Oliver in the Brady Bunch, which blew my mind, did the voice for Michelangelo, and that is still my favorite voice actor to have played Michelangelo ever. That still, to me, is just like the quintessential Michelangelo voice. Now, really quick, moving on to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the sequel to the Ooze. I think it came out like a year later, maybe 2 years, but I'm pretty sure it was a year. This is I think I was too young to remember the original coming out theatrically. I definitely remember it coming out on video because I watched it like crazy. But this is the first one I remember coming out in theater. I didn't see it in the theater, but I remember seeing ads for it. I remember seeing interviews with the cast and everything. So I remember being pretty excited for it and seeing it for the first time on video. But this one's a tricky one. What do you think of Turtles 2?
Turtles 2, well, again, I like the Turtles 2 as well, because it brought them back, and I was hoping once the first one ended, I was hoping that please let there be a second one. I don't want this to just end like that. So when they came out with the second one and came up with like the origin of how they came to be this way, it was good. It was very good. It was more comical for the second one. I like the return of Shredder. 'Cause for some reason, when you put someone in a garbage dispenser and crush them, they don't die. They just come back mad. But yeah, and yeah, with that, yeah. Just a quick thing with the first one. Casey Jones committed murder, but we passed that. We passed that one.
Yeah.
But then they also introduced Keno, who was played by Ernie Reyes Jr., who is a very, very famous martial artist, and I think that was the first movie I've ever seen him in. But
I think that's the first on-screen role he had. Because he was in the first one. I think he was in one of the costumes. I can't remember who he was.
No, I think, he was also, the very first one I can remember was The Last Dragon when he was a kid. He was
he in there?
That little kid, that was him. In The Last Dragon. Yep, that was him. But, Keno, he played a good supporting role in the Turtles movie. There was a change in the actress for April, which I was confused about at first, because they kept everybody else, but they changed the actress for April. But
yeah, that was odd. I don't like the second April as much.
It was pretty odd, but the main attraction was the turtle. So at the end of it, I just didn't give shit really.
They did change a turtle as well. The voice for Donatello. That's what I was looking this up too. Voice of Donatello was Adam Carl.
Yeah.
Originally it was Corey Feldman in the first one, and he comes back in the third one. But
it was Corey Feldman?
Yeah, Corey Feldman.
Corey? Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did Donatello, but in this one it was a different actor. I actually like this voice for Donatello better than Corey Feldman. I think Corey Feldman does do a pretty good job, but in comparison, I kind of like this Donatello sounds a little more articulate than Corey Feldman's. Corey Feldman sounds like a smart Michelangelo to me.
Yeah.
And I thought this guy was pretty good. But anyway, continue.
Okay. two things I gotta
Oh, and the
say
Shredder
about
was different too, but that's fine. He's wearing a mask. It's a different actor who played the Shredder in this one. It's okay.
two things I gotta say about Turtles 2 before we hop on to 3 is that one, I thought it was hilarious. Like when I look back now and see like near the end of the movie when they were fighting the Foot in that club, that dance club with Vanilla Ice.
The Vanilla
Yeah,
Ice
no,
rave room.
like
That's what I call it.
I loved it back in. I still love it now, but now I just find it really comical because out of nowhere, Vanilla Ice just magically came up with a song for the Turtles. Like the instrumentals are right, and then he just knew every word to say to match. And then his people, like especially like you see like the dude that's next to him the most, that black dude with the Arsenio Hall hairstyle, like he just going on. He's like he just. Like they know the choreography down packed. Like I know they did it for the movie, but
Right.
if you're just going by the movie and not the actors, the choreography, they're just like y'all just randomly came up with a song and y'all just know the beat like that. Okay, it's nice.
That's how fresh Vanilla Ice was, man.
That's how he was funky fresh.
That's how funky fresh he was.
And yep. And the other thing I wanted to just mention was that still at the end too with Shredder, when he drank that vial of ooze. Okay, I understand that your body mutates and gets whatever happens, but I didn't know that your armor does that too.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was funny because he looked like a damn mech, but didn't know how that worked. But I mean, overall, I like the Turtles 2 movie. Oh, and transitioning to 3, they showed on number 2 how they lost their home in the sewer, but they were able to get that abandoned train station, subway station. Yeah, I forgot to mention that because I just saw the transition to number 3. But anything you have to add for number 2?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that number 2 is tricky for me because as a kid, it was my favorite because it was the most fun. It was the most kid-friendly. They did that intentionally, I guess. The director thought the first one was a little too violent, so they took away the weapons and had them use like sausages and use everything other than their weapons except for Donatello's staff. But so it's a little more slapsticky, and as a kid, I totally dug it. And today, as a piece of nostalgia, I still really like it. I think it's a really funny comedy. And there are a lot of things I like about it, but for the most part, it's really uneven and not as entertaining. It doesn't hold up as well as the first one, but it's still pretty entertaining, I think.
One thing I forgot to add is that with the second movie, to this very day, every time I watch the very beginning of the second movie, when you just see everybody and their mom eating a slice of pizza, it still makes me want to have a slice of pizza. I'm just like, oh my god,
me too.
Oh man, like you see the dude in the business suit chowing down on pizza. No sauce is getting on his suit. You know, the cop's eating pizza cuffed to his criminal. Like what the hell? Well, everybody's just having a good time eating some pizza. So
they should be.
Hey, it's Italian.
So okay, before we did the show, I said non-critic Will's going to have to take over this one. Ninja Turtles 3. I don't remember this coming out in theaters. I don't. And I remember it coming out in video and watching it for maybe 15 minutes and giving up. And periodically over the last 20-something years doing the same exact thing, starting it, giving up, or catching it late on TV or something and trying to finish it, and I just can't do it. Something about that movie, to me, the best way I can summarize it is Turtles 3 feels like a dead formula, where the first movie felt like it set the stage for everything perfectly well, and then the second movie took aspects of it and exploited the goofier moments and made it a little much more little kid friendly. This one took the same formula from the second one and exploited that even further, except for giving them their weapons back. And it just seems really tired and like it doesn't. It seemed like the movie doesn't want to even be on screen. Like, I mean, they have Jim Henson Company's not doing the Turtles anymore, and that puppet work is just so embarrassing compared to the first two. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Third movie, didn't like it very much. What about you?
Okay, well, first off, the look, like you were just saying, the look was changed compared to 1 and 2. They were a lot lighter with more spots and stuff. I mean, I didn't really. The look was just changed. They looked a lot goofier too. Yeah, compared to the first and the second one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the look. Two. Okay, the whole time travel thing, going back to feudal Japan. I think it was 1603 feudal Japan that they traveled back. The whole the whole plot was because it was by accident that April bought a scepter that magically brought her back in time. Well, because on the other end they were using the same scepter. The Kenshi. That's the dude's name, Kenshi. Kenshi was using the scepter, and him and April switched clothes, not bodies, but clothes.
That's what happens when you time travel.
And somehow he fit into her clothes perfectly. But yeah, so the Turtles, of course, they have to go back to save their friend, save April. You know, funny, her own lover, Casey, did not go, but that's another story.
It was nice. I will say it was nice to see Casey again, even for that limited amount of time. Except for it was funny. I went up to go to the bathroom when I was watching this, and I paused it, and I came back, and Casey Jones had this look on his face, like, and it was like the actor just realized he was in a shitty movie, and that's the face he gave.
Okay. Well, with that, with that movie, the one thing that I thought was interesting but also weird was how I guess it was prophesized that the Turtles would be in Japan. Like they open up that scroll.
Oh, that scroll,
and you see the Turtles with Japanese armor on, like they've been there before, and I'm like, whoa, that's some Back to the Future combo stuff there. All right, that's nice. Aside from that, like, yeah, Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles Back in Time, it's called. Turtles Are Back in Time.
No, actually, it has no subtitle. A lot of people call it Turtles in Time. Actually, James Bond did a video about this as the Angry Video Game Nerd. He mentioned how people call it Turtles in Time, but that's the video game. It's called Turtles in Time, and the movie is just called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Yeah.
Just saying, bro.
Yeah, no. You answered the question because I actually thought that it was Turtles in Time, like this whole time.
Yeah, everybody did. Until I saw that video, I had no idea.
So, I mean, Turtles 3 was my least favorite. Like, I still enjoyed it, but it was my least favorite. The story, April accidentally going back in time. All right, I still, of course, I like the action. I love how they were able to incorporate some type of resolve and stuff. Like, there was one thing I did like was that Mikey, he actually started falling for the female character. Her name is Mitsu.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually thinking about splitting up from his brothers to stay back in Japan to be with Mitsu. And it was kind of a touching scene because he's like, I want to stay with you, and she's like, you will always be with me, Michelangelo. And they went back to the present, and Mikey's still down and out. And then, of course, like any of your family or brothers that are close to you, they're gonna do whatever they can to cheer you up. So they're just partying and dancing with him and stuff like that. The Splinter, I kind of felt weirded out with Splinter because Splinter, like throughout the transition from the first one to the third one, they just made Splinter goofier and goofier and goofier. Like on the very first, like one of the first scenes on the third Turtles movie, like when they're all just partying and dancing, Splinter opens up the one subway the window of the train opens up and he's just like,
Yeah.
what the hell are you doing? Like you're so wise. You're so wise, master.
Jeez.
But
Anyway,
the enemy the only thing I didn't like another thing I didn't like was the enemy of Turtles 3 that pirate dude. I can't think of his name. I remember his assistant Niles, but the pirate dude he just Niles, because he always did that. Niles. I can't think of the dude's name, but he just was a weirdo. And that's all I have to say about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. Still like it. I'll still watch it, just that it was the least favorite of mine.
So moving on to that, to 17 years later, I believe, if my math is correct, and it's probably not. 17 years later, we get kind of a sequel, kind of a reboot, new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, just simply called TMNT in 2007.
CG animation.
CG animation. This came out like what, 3 or 4 years after the new TMNT cartoon, which is a pretty damn good cartoon. And so this was their theatrical rebooty type thing. And I remember when it was coming out, I had serious doubts about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since I'd seen anything Turtles that I enjoyed. I wasn't watching that cartoon at the time. But I was still kind of excited at the idea of there being a new Ninja Turtles movie, and for some reason, I never saw it until long after it came out on video, and you actually showed it to me. I don't know if you remember that day.
Yeah.
But you were the first person to show it to me, and I remember really liking it. But I didn't like it in the way of I felt this was a good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, although I think there's some good stuff in there as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I just enjoyed it as this fun animated movie that didn't always make a lot of sense, but I got a kick out of it anyway. And I still feel that way.
I actually recently watched it about a week ago, since we've been, on the topic of Ninja Turtles and stuff. I watched it a week ago, and as I look now on the movie, it has its funny moments. To me, it has its funny moments, but it seemed more like a serious movie. Reason why I say that is because, number one, the whole Leo was in Japan or Timbuktu like for a year training to be
or something, wasn't he?
in the jungle. Yeah, he was in some type of jungle or somewhere trying to become a better leader for his brothers. And then they, it's like the Turtles, they all split up in their own ways. Raph became a vigilante, which they already were vigilantes, but Raph became his own vigilante. Raph became his own like vigilante. I think Raph had the hardest. He took it the hardest when Leo left to become leader. As much as he acts like the badass, he took it the hardest. That's why he became this vigilante. Said, just kind of lashing out like, fuck that, I don't need Leo. We don't need Leo. The city is still, the crime is still active while you're gone. So because you want to chicken out and run to try to become a better leader, I'm going to do what I have to do for my city. Like Raph had that mentality. It was just more of a touching thing because, Leo comes back and he's trying to bring together his brothers again, but they're not really listening to him because he hasn't been there for a year. It's like, don't try to boss us around. And then that whole big battle scene with Raph and Leo when he found out he was the I forgot the vigilante name, the name that he had, but
the Night Watchman, I think.
the Night Watcher or something like that. And it was a very intense battle, and then it looked like Raph was almost at that point where he wanted to kill Leo, and then he realized what he was doing. That was a very emotional scene because, like, you could see it in his eyes that he was just like, what have I done? Like, what have I become? This still is my brother. What the hell? So he felt the worst when Leo got kidnapped. It was kind of like a switch. It was kind of like a switch from the very first TMNT movie when
Mm-hmm.
Raph got beat up and unconscious and stuff, and now it switched to Leo.
Mm-hmm.
It was just more of a touching. It was more of a touching movie because it was trying to show the value of family and trying to stay together through thick and thin, regardless of what you go through. You are a family. So it had, of course, had its funny moments, but it was very. It seemed like it was supposed to be very heartfelt and serious at times too. One thing that was comical was like Mikey, for instance. He's always a comedy relief. He was being he was being like a turtle mascot out of all things for little kids' birthday parties. And at the end of the movie, when they were hanging up like this ancient Japanese helmet from this guy that they be, and Raph hung up his helmet, the vigilante helmet, the night watcher helmet, and then you see Mikey coming in with the big mascot turtle helmet, like, hey, is there room for this over there too? Because he said he was having nightmares of little kids' birthday parties. So I mean, they had some kind of comedy relief, but it seemed like a more serious, a little dark, like that whole fight at night, and it's a stormy night as well. It was a little dark.
Well, yeah, I agree. I felt that it was an interesting start. Like they could have really gone somewhere if they had continued making movies in this vein, and I think they probably could have gone in some pretty interesting directions. It felt
Mm-hmm.
like I felt like an introduction. It didn't feel like here's the new turtles. Here they are, fully formed, fully realized. They're like, no, this is a new beginning that we hope to continue with, and it just didn't click with people. I can understand why. The villains aren't very interesting, although the idea of them fighting these ancient creatures are pretty interesting to me. But just the villains themselves aren't very interesting, and it suffers from a bit of the Superman Returns. One of the biggest flaws in that movie is that Superman goes away for no real reason. I mean, they explain it, but it's kind of like you're just thrown into the middle of this situation where all these characters aren't really talking to each other, and it's just like awkward for a while. And I understand why they do that because they want to reintroduce you to the world, but it felt kind of that part really brought the movie down for me. But I mean, as a neat little animated movie, I really got a kick out of it, and I would have liked to have seen where the movies would have gone from there. But we're just about out of time. I'm surprised we actually did it because usually by now we'd probably be like, all right, Turtles 2, let's discuss that now. But, so this is the new format to the show that I'm trying, and it seems to be working all right so far. I don't know. We have some ideas for some other shows in the future. One of my personal favorites being reboots and remakes that don't suck. That'll be fun. And but until then, I guess we'll see if the. I mean, we've had 4 turtle movies. 3 of them were. One was great. Another one was a lot of fun. One was even for both of us. And then one was interesting and exciting, but just didn't really go anywhere. So we'll see what the future of TMNT cinema holds. My outlook isn't too bright, obviously, but I guess we'll have to see. But any final words on the TMNT movies in 1 minute and 56 seconds?
The TMNT in general is great. The story is great. The characters, everything. I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The different renditions that they have. Some are hot, some are not. Hopefully Michael Bay shows that this is a good one. Hopefully. Um, I plan on going to the movies, like we said before. I plan on going to the movie theater to watch it. Hopefully, I'm gonna watch it with some pizza in my mouth. So yeah,
That would be nice.
so that would be nice, pepperoni, yeah, or extra cheese. So yeah,
And I mean, if anything, at least these 4 movies show how broad and versatile just the subject matter is, and how you can go anywhere with it as long as the decisions you make are worthwhile.
Mhm.
So Well, we'll find out. But until then, non-critic Dustin.
And non-critic, well, and I just want to say one more thing. I'll just reiterate this again so everybody hears what I'm saying. Casey Jones committed murder. or no, attempted murder because Shredder survived. But anyway, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, he was thinking he was killing a guy, so you're right. But I'm really tempted to just end this by saying cowabunga, but I'm not going to do it. Do you want to?
Booyakasha!
Oh, snap!